Whether you're a man or a woman, being caught flat-footed and naked is a recipe for disaster. But being armed and smarter than your assailant is a lifesaver. This true life story is haunting. Stop the Threat. Start now. Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On today's episode, we take you to Georgia for a reenactment which we have entitled Psycho Redo. But before we begin, let me introduce this week's guest. Rich Portwood. Officer Portwood is a senior patrolman with the state of Illinois, and since the laws have changed allowing citizens to carry, he has also been offering his experience as an instructor to civilians who want good handling techniques from a law enforcement officer. Sarah Cortez. Sarah has been in the law enforcement community for 20 years and written 3 best-selling books as life as a police officer. Sergeant Duncan Stewart supervised a gambling investigation that resulted in the largest cash seizure in the Stanford Police Department history, and he's also a contributor to Stop the Threat. Sarah, tell me, how do you undress a cop?
Carefully.
That is the name of a book. Tell us about that book.
Carefully. How to Undress a Cop is a book of poetry. A lot of it's about policing, and my publisher chose a title. I didn't choose the title. He chose a title because there's a poem in the book called Undressing a Cop.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the instructions or the book?
Well, I'm going to let you go with that.
All right. The poem itself has a very erotic sort of, let's say, top coat, but what it's really about, the subtext of the poem, is how cut off from their emotions police officers have to be to get the job done professionally.
Okay, so it really is and I admit to have not read it yet, so it really has a much more important text than the title implies.
Yes, the title sort of implies a frivolous, superficial approach, but actually the poem is not that at all.
Okay, and this is book number?
That was book number 1.
That was 1. Number 2 is?
Cold Blue Steel,
okay,
which came out this past year, which is a book of poetry taken from my own cases and cases of fellow friends of mine, police officers in jurisdictions all around the U.S.
Okay.
Poetry about policing.
Right, and you're probably working on number 3.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Let me just give you a little idea of what's going to take place. This is one of those scary little episodes that happens in your home and in your hometown, in those quiet little neighborhoods that everyone says, you know, nothing happens here. It's a real quiet little neighborhood. In fact, I think we can probably all agree that criminals go where the opportunity exists, whether it's the high-end neighborhood or a low-end neighborhood. It really doesn't make any difference. If they see an opportunity, they're probably going to seize that opportunity. I think we've probably all seen that in the different areas of the country we're in, correct? Mm-hmm. When we come back, I'm going to show you part 1. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. We're going to show you Psycho Redo. This is about a neighborhood. Perhaps you live in a neighborhood like this where you feel very secure and that you're not concerned about things going wrong. You're probably going to find out that that's a mistake before the end of the show, but I'm going to show you an incident that took place in Georgia, part 1. Okay, now you know why it has the title that it has, correct? I don't think any of us, male or female, if we're in the nude or naked or semi-naked and something like, you're pretty much on the defensive. You're not feeling particularly aggressive, right? In this particular case, I'm not sure how aggressive she could have become, but backing it up a little bit further, here's this guy bouncing down the street. Is this kind of like a neighborhood watch situation, maybe? Give me some feeling.
It could be, but you know, it looked like the middle of the day. You can have a lot of people working, kids at school, nobody around. You know, you might be able to, you know, bop down the street and not be too noticed. I mean, he's in a T-shirt and baseball cap, and you know.
Okay, what does it tell you that he's not armed?
I mean, it's not apparent that he's armed. You know, he's not armed, but I mean, you can, you know, he has nothing visible immediately leads you to believe that he's armed.
Do you get the feeling that he's pretty confident in what he's doing?
It appeared like he definitely knew where he was going. He was strolling down the street, yes, but he knew which house he was going to. He immediately.
He went to the gate, the exterior gate, immediately. Fortunately, it was locked, but that didn't stop him.
No.
And then
I
he
wish I could
scaled the
leap over a
fence.
gate like that. I don't think I can do that anymore.
Right.
But that was a great leap.
But also, too, if he's a guy that does residential burglaries on a regular basis, he doesn't want to be armed initially,
Right.
because he doesn't want to go for the higher charge and all. So he figures, you know, I mean, I get the impression that he thought nobody's home.
Right.
Doors open, nice and easy, in and out, get what I get, away I go.
I'm not
But-
sure he thought that. You know the reason why? Because he grabbed a knife once he
But
got
that was
inside.
once he's inside. Maybe did he hear something? I don't know.
Well, when he was looking through the window, I got the impression by watching this that he saw her through the window,
Maybe.
found the unlocked door, grabs the knife, and goes back to where she is. That's the way it appeared to me.
Yeah, I'm with you at that point where we're talking about him feeling confident and you know, and not wanting to be armed because he could get charged with a higher crime. I'm right there until he takes the knife. And once he took the knife, now I'm going, he had a plan.
And it didn't appear to me to be burglary. I mean, it could be
It did
house
Right.
burglary with an opportunistic sexual assault, because there are a lot of those statistically. But it didn't appear that he had a vehicle to take anything big, although sometimes they just take the small electronics. And getting back over that fence with anything big, if he has to go back over, is not going to work. So I think he was after something else.
Yeah, I'm thinking a sexual assault. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm total agreement.
I don't know. I'm not convinced. I kind of still think that if he's in that neighborhood at that time of day, I got a feeling he's a guy who does burglaries. He's looking for gold. He's looking for prescription medication. He's looking for cash.
Okay, something he can put in his pocket.
Maybe guns, but again, you're starting to get into another leap as far as a criminal goes and everything else. Now, that doesn't mean to say that once he gets in the house that we're dealing with the most stable, rational guy in the world. He's still a guy that's breaking into a house. So what prompts him at that point to do whatever, I don't know.
Right.
It just seems that it would be counterproductive for him to not pick the easy target if he was a guy that does residential burglaries.
Okay, let's move forward a little bit. The back door's unlocked?
Yeah, it's...
Not cool.
I mean, you're
Nobody
about to
should
take a
do that.
shower, okay? You're female, you're going to take a shower, and you didn't lock the back door. Okay, you're in that kind of a neighborhood where you feel like you don't have to lock the back doors? Do those neighborhoods
she had
exist?
the fence and the gates locked.
Okay.
And I'm sure that had something to do with it, a false sense of security that I've locked this gate to the fence, I don't have to lock the door.
Well, people need not to think that way. I wish nobody thought that way. I mean, you need to have everything locked all the time. I mean, if I take laundry out to an exterior building, you know, I lock the door even though it is a 3-second walk from one building to the next.
Okay, are you armed?
And vice versa.
Are you armed?
Depends.
When you do that?
It
Sometimes
depends.
yes, sometimes no?
It depends, yeah.
Okay.
Time
all
of day.
Time of day would have
Most
something to do
sexual
with it?
assaults occur statistically during the day.
During the day.
During
Okay,
the day.
I didn't know that. I didn't have that. I didn't have that stat. That's very interesting. When we come back, though, I have more for you. Don't go away. thanks for coming back, folks. We've seen part 1 of Psycho Redo. And just before we left, though, Sarah was talking about a statistic that we need to go back to.
I would like the viewers to know, particularly the female viewers, that the majority of sexual assaults in America that occur during daylight hours. So that gives a particular sort of gloss to the segment that we've just seen.
Okay. And you mentioned something about college campuses. How'd that go?
Yes, that when you look at geography of where sexual assaults occur in America, the largest percentage occur on college campuses with associated fraternity houses.
Okay. Did you know that?
No, I had no
No,
idea.
that's a stat I didn't know, and I'm certainly glad that you brought that out. Let's go and watch part 2, and we'll come back with more.
Oh my God! Somebody help! Quiet! God!
Your throat.
Please no! Oh my God! Please!
Come here. Come here. Come here. To the bed.
Oh my God! Please! Please! I've got money. I'll give you all the money. Just please. No.
Go get it. Go get it.
Okay, there's a lot of things that happened in here, huh, that none of us were expecting. Number one, I'm going to rule out this guy was here for money. I'm going to say this was a sexual crime from the beginning. I'm just going to go out on a limb. What do you think?
I would agree.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the actions
Yeah.
of the individual now.
Yeah, after the fact, absolutely.
Right. So this was all about sex. That's what it was.
Well, may I make a correction?
Okay.
Sexual assault is not about sex. It's either about power or anger.
I apologize. You're absolutely correct.
So forgive me, James.
No,
Please
you're
forgive
right.
me.
No, you're right. That was an easy thing for me to say. I should have thought that through. That's correct. It's about power, and you're right. I haven't had a lot of sexual crimes. You guys?
I had very limited experience, investigating sexual assaults.
Rich?
I've got a lot of experience with
Really?
the child sex offenders. That's actually one of the things I take care of most. And normally it is about power, having the power over those children. Whenever I've worked adult cases, again, it's about the power. It isn't necessarily about the sexual intercourse or the sexual contact, but having that control and power over someone.
Okay, yeah, I think he made it pretty obvious that, that's what it was. Now, going forward a little bit, though, I think she did a marvelous job of distracting him with the money issue.
Yeah.
Because it looked like for a while there he was kind of in one of those spots where he wasn't sure what he was going to do. And maybe it's a psych thing going on inside of his head. And she picked up on that one moment that she could change the way things were going and took advantage of it. And I'd say pointing the gun and emptying it was not a bad idea.
Well, she was a very smart tactician, and one of the things I used to do sexual assault I used to train sexual assault investigators, and I also used to do a lot of training for young women on college campuses to avoid the possibility of sexual assault. And one of the things that they trained us to always tell young women, and of course young men, because a lot of men are sexually assaulted as well, it's just very underreported, is that we can train you, we can give you options, but you, in the moment, have to go with your gut about what you feel you can do without damage or losing your life, damage to yourself or losing your life. So there is no formula. There's nothing that's going to work 100% of the time. You have to maintain your awareness, even though you're terrified of the perpetrator, the situation, and your potential for action or no action. And then
Okay.
you have to live with the results as well.
You know, that leads to the question of who's in charge here? Was she in charge or was he in charge?
I think it shifted back and forth. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, he was in charge, obviously, when he had the knife and she was unarmed. But when she was able to distract him with the ruse of money and get to that gun, and then not just shot him, but shot him to the ground,
Right.
and then reloaded.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you couldn't teach that any better in a critical, situation than what she did.
Right. So at some point, she did take control of what was taking place there.
Yeah.
She took control back.
Yeah, right. And let's see, where was that when he started to flounder as to what he was going to do next? She was smart enough to read the situation,
Yeah.
and that would be something that you would have taught. And I think, all things accounted for, she had good presence and knew what she was doing under a very stressful situation. And when we come back, we'll talk more. Don't go away. Thanks for coming back, folks. There's a couple of things we want to leave you with, and I'm going to start with the sergeant.
She made some glaring mistakes. She left her door open, and then left her door open while she's going to go in and take a shower. But she also did some, tremendous things. She was aggressive. She was decisive. I don't want to sound like Cooper here, but she did everything that, if you read that book, Principles of Self-Defense, that you could expect. She was aware. She shot him to the ground and then reloaded, stayed in her spot, didn't follow him outside, got on the phone. I mean, you couldn't ask better from an experienced, combat veteran cop than what she did.
Okay. Would you have trained that way? Is that the kind of information that you'd want out there, to handle it like that?
Yes. What I admire most about what this woman did is that she never quit thinking. Because she could have given up, especially when she fell back in the in the tub, and she's at a total tactical disadvantage, particularly for something terrible like a sexual assault, a guy with a knife. She had to have been utterly terrified, but she did not give up thinking, because it would have been easy for her to just give up and think, I just hope to get out of this alive, or maybe he won't stab me too many times, or maybe I can, something. But she didn't give up thinking, and that's what enabled her to do what she did in the bedroom that was
Right.
Stewart just pointed out.
Yeah, Rich, I think she didn't have control. He took her by the hair. I don't think she had control at that point.
No.
She didn't really have control until they got to the bedroom, and he released her onto the bed, and he started to look like he was going through some kind of a trip. And that's when she saw her opening. That's my guess.
Yeah, my Uncle Carl used to always tell me that improvisation makes a good soldier or sailor. And she never stopped improvising. And I think that's something that you can't really teach. But you have to have that mindset that I'm not giving up, I'm not quitting. She was waiting for an opening, and she improvised. She adapted, and she overcame. So.
Okay. Viewers, I know this is a big subject, and I want to hear from you on it. We all want to hear from you on it. So don't hesitate to send me an email on this. I think we could expand this a lot. I think we could all learn more from it. But I want to get to an email, and this was sent to us from Troy from Michigan, okay? Troy writes, and he has a good question. We only have a minute. If someone comes at me at a baseball bat and I pull a gun, and then he runs off and calls 911, can I be charged with brandishing? You know what? I'm going to answer it this way. It is a presumed fact that if you're the first one to call 911, you are presumed to be innocent. So if you're the bad guy and you run off and call 911 first, I think it's a problem for the good guy.
Not necessarily. I mean, it
Not
depends on
necessarily,
witnesses.
But okay, you're the arriving officer. I got 20 seconds. You're the arriving officer. The information you have, who are you looking at?
You're going to meet the complainant, first of all.
Right.
Okay, so if you called, I'm talking to you, getting your side of the story first. So until it proves to be unplausible, now, that by the same time, I pull up and I know I've arrested you 15 times before,
Right.
and this guy is the pillar of the community, well, I'm probably going to believe him.
Yeah. I'm going to put everybody in the car. Okay? They're going to put them all in the car and I'm going to say, let's sort this out.
Right.
Okay? We're out of time. Thank you very much, panel, for being here. Be safe, be trained, be alert. See you next week.